So Long and Thanks for All the Fish by Douglas Adams is the fourth book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. The first book starts off with Earth being destroyed, and the rest of the book, all the way up until book 4, human Arthur Dent is dragged along in space with best friend / alien Ford Prefect, Zaphod Beeblebrox, and an Earth woman Trillian. While the 3 books were fun and wild, it was So Long that really stuck with me, and that I liked the most. I feel that is due to how relaxing it is compared to what came before. I first heard of these books and the author from another favorite author of mine, Neil Gaiman. Douglas Adams was born March 11, 1952 in Cambridge, England. He's best known for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was a radio comedy first before becoming the book series. He also wrote 3 stories for Doctor Who, but also has many other works. According to Adams, the idea for the title came to him while he was drunk, laying in a field, gazing at the stars. He was also carrying a copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to Europe. Douglas Adams also developed problems with deadlines, and it only got worse as he started publishing novels. He usually had to be forced by others to do any writing, such as he was locked in a hotel suite with his editor for 3 weeks in order to show that So Long was complete. A popular quote of his is, "I love deadlines. I love the whooshing noise they make as they go by." He died May 11, 2001, and he was 49 years old. Given that Douglas Adams had to be forced to complete the book, what exactly is the book even about? The book opens with main character Arthur Dent dropped off into a planet during a rainstorm. He soon realizes that this planet is Earth, and even though he had been gone for years, it turns out that only a few months had passed on Earth, and it still existed. He ends up hitchhiking and getting picked up by a man named Russell. He is also driving home his sister Fenchurch. Russell explains that his sister had become delusional several months before after the worldwide incident involving mass hysteria over the hallucinations of the big yellow spaceships. These spaceships being the Vogan ships, whom had destroyed Earth back in the first book. Arthur learns that the dolphins had disappeared, and when he returns home he finds a fishbowl inscribed with the words "So Long and Thanks for All the Fish." He begins to consider that Fenchurch is connected to the Earth's destruction, and it also turns out that she lives in the same exact spot where Arthur lived during his time on prehistoric Earth. Fenchurch also reveals that before the hallucinations, she had an epiphany about how to make the world right. Later they meet a man named John Watson, nicknamed Wonka the Sane, because he feels like the entire world population, save himself, has gone mad. Watson claims to know why the dolphins disappeared. He shows them a fishbowl, the same one Arthur has found in his home, and they listen to the fishbowl's audio message, where they learn how the world was saved. First of all, I want to talk about the beginning of this book and how it connects to the first book of the series. In the beginning of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it reads, "And then, one Thursday, nearly 2,000 years after one man had been nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be to be nice to people for a change, a girl, sitting on her own in a small cafe in Rickmansworth, suddenly realized what it was that had been going wrong all this time, and she finally knew how the world could be made a good and happy place. This time, it was right, it would work, and no one would have to get nailed to anything. Sadly, however, before she could get to a phone to tell anyone about it, a terrible, stupid catastrophe occurred, and the deal was lost forever. This is not her story." And then in the beginning of So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, it begins with the exact same first paragraph from "and then one Thursday" to "no one have to get nailed to anything." However, it changes slightly. Sadly, however, before she gets to the phone to tell anyone about it, the Earth was unexpectedly demolished to make way for a new hyperspace bypass, and so the idea was lost, seemingly forever. This is her story. I really like the repetition and the bringing back of this selection. It's brought up in the first book and brings interest, but is quickly dismissed and it isn't brought back up again, so it becomes something minor and unimportant. But come the fourth book, Douglas Adams takes a short and barely mentioned character and brings her and her story to life. It gives more depth to the universe Adams created by introducing the character that was only ever in the background. The tone of this book is completely different than the other books in the past, mainly because this one is more of a romance than anything. There's very little space travel and everything is done on Earth. However, even though I find it a good and humorous book, it still seems like it's missing a lot, or seems incomplete. For one, the book starts off with how Fenchurch came up with a way to put the world to right, and I figured because it was repeated twice and brought up several other times that this is what the book would be about, but instead it's just a bunch of romance with plot holes. Even when they figure out how the world is still existing, they never give it any closure. Douglas Adams even stated that he's not entirely happy with the book, and while he could have done so much better given the time, it still wasn't a bad book, and the relaxation he gave it, with the same old dry humor and confusing and diverse characters and scenes, made it okay and even enjoyable. Douglas Adams' writing style has been widely described as dry, pessimistic, and cynical. He's consistent with humor, be it dry or not, in The Hitchhiker's Guide. Adams also uses short paragraphs most times. Stating one or two things, it gives a more light and humorous feel. He even makes serious situations not seem so serious. I'm envious of how talented he is at writing badly well. It's a hard thing to get right, and I feel like it's part of the reason why he's gotten so popular. The book has its advantages and disadvantages, but I found it still to be a good read. Even though Arthur's travel buddies were not with him, he still had an adventure on Earth.